He calls my daughter sensitive and my stepson reckless. Same age gap, same house, different rules entirely. I married Derek 2 years ago. He came with a 6-year-old son, Mason, sweet kid, wide-eyed, still learning how families work. I came with my own daughter, Ivy, who was 8 at the time. We blended our lives, bought a house together, had a baby last spring, a boy, Theo, and that's when everything I'd been quietly noticing turned into something I couldn't ignore anymore. If Ivy so much as leans over Theo's bassinet to make a funny face, Derek is up off the couch in half a second. Careful, not so close. You'll wake him. If Mason does the exact same thing, closer, louder, more chaotic, Derek laughs and says, he loves his big brother. When Ivy asks to hold Theo, she gets a lecture on supporting his neck, sitting down first, no sudden movements. When Mason asks, Derek just hands the baby over standing up, mid-stride, still talking to someone else in the room. I told myself I was imagining it, then I started keeping a mental list. The time Ivy blew a raspberry on Theo's foot and Derek snapped at her to stop roughhousing with a newborn. The time Mason literally jumped on the bed 2 feet from where Theo was napping and Derek just said, buddy, a little quieter, without even getting up. The time Ivy cried after being told she always gets too excited around the baby and Derek didn't even notice she was upset. I brought it up gently one night. I said, do you realize you treat them differently around Theo? He got defensive immediately, said Ivy is more emotional and needs more guidance and Mason is just a boy being a boy. I let it go because I didn't want to fight over something that might just be me being tired and hormonal and overly protective. Then 2 weekends ago, Derek's sister came to visit with her twin boys, who are 11 and enormous for their age. Within 20 minutes of arriving, they were tearing through the living room, and one of them cannonballed onto the couch cushion right next to where Theo was sleeping in his rock and play. The whole thing jolted. Theo startled awake and started screaming. Derek didn't say one word to his nephew. He picked Theo up, bounced him, laughed it off, said, he's tough, he'll be fine. I stood there and watched Ivy's face. She'd been sitting quietly across the room reading, hadn't gone near the baby all day, and she just looked at me like she already knew what I was about to say wouldn't matter. So I said it anyway. I looked at Derek's nephew and said, calm as I could manage, hey buddy, you have to be really gentle when the baby's sleeping right next to you. That could really hurt him. The kid apologized, no big deal. But Derek turned to me in front of his whole family and said, don't correct my nephew like that, he didn't mean anything by it, you're being dramatic. I said, I'm being exactly as dramatic as you are every single time Ivy comes near her own brother. The room went quiet. His sister looked at her hands. His mom suddenly found something fascinating on her phone. Derek's face went red and he said we'd talk about this later, which is what he says when he wants me to drop it in public and forget about it in private. We didn't drop it. Later that night, I laid it all out, every single instance, dates, and all, because I'd actually started writing them down without telling him. I watched his face change as I went through the list. He tried to argue the first 2, then went quiet around the 5th, and by the 10th, he just sat there with his hands over his face. He finally said, I didn't realize I was doing that to her. And I said, you weren't just doing it to her. You were teaching her every single day that she's less trustworthy than a kid who isn't even related to him by blood, and that hurts more than anything you could have said outright. It's been 2 weeks. He's not perfect at it yet. Old habits don't die that fast, but I've caught him correcting himself mid-sentence, catching his own double standard before it comes out of his mouth. Last night, Ivy asked to hold Theo, and he said, of course, sweetheart, come sit down. The exact same words, the exact same tone he's always used for Mason. She didn't say anything about it. She just smiled the whole time she was holding her brother.